Hello everyone and welcome to episode 7 of the UK League Chat podcast. This time we're lucky enough to be joined once again by Tom Daniels. Tom, do you want to say hi?
Hello. Hello.
And as well as Tom, we're also joined by MnM Shogun. Shogun, thanks for coming on.
Alright.
So what we're looking to go over this episode is MnM's performance so far this split, as well as some predictions for the games coming up later this week.
Mm-hmm.
So to start with then, Shogun, how do you think things have gone for MnM so far? But are they sort of at your expectations? Have you had any hopes to be doing maybe a bit better? How have you been finding it? How are you feeling about the split?
Yeah, pretty much, right? Like, I feel like everybody, I think almost everyone was like MnM will be third. We were like pretty confident that we would be in the position that we're in. It kind of seems to have just happened the way that it was expected to. Yeah, so it literally is exactly as expected so far, I would say.
I think in the predictions as well, I think we had you around, like when we did our own predictions, we had you around like the third, fourth place. There was a couple other teams which we didn't expect to be where they are now, but yeah, definitely MnM was seen as like, I called it like the British kind of super team essentially, because you had some of the best talents in Britain, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know there was a few teams that, like, even when we were coming in, that I don't think I would say I was particularly worried about. But we were aware that maybe some of them we thought they would be a lot stronger than they have turned out being. I know it's easy to like kind of pick on Barrage right now, but like Barrage, I think is a very good example that we expected they would have done better by this point. I don't think it means that they're going to continue doing as badly as they're doing, but you know, they were a team that some people were looking at saying, oh, maybe with the Monkish Sergoth thing going on, they might be a third place team, but that sort of stuff just hasn't happened, and I think we've played as we're expected to play, so that's why we're there.
So you guys will obviously be looking to try and close that gap then to XL and Fnatic. What do you think maybe could be done to start catching up with those guys? Do you think there's something you guys could be doing?
Yeah, I mean, well, there is. I mean, especially being in a best of one format, like. We in terms of points right now, no. We can't. I don't think we actually can catch up to them by the end of this split. But when it comes to the gauntlet, yeah, you know, you only have to realistically win 2 games, and then we'll knock them out, and we move into second or first. In terms of what we actually have to do, it's really just a lot of hard work and a lot of prep. Because right now, the pre-game stuff is becoming a lot more important with what everyone's doing in terms of draft and role swapping and flexing picks, because it is really important when you go into a game that you know what's happening and like what your game plan is, and when you're loading a screen and then you walk into lane and suddenly you're playing against something different and you've got the wrong runes, or you've got, you know, your whole game plan gets changed and then you have to readapt it. It can be confusing, so we're kind of having to learn a lot about our opponents and also about what we can do as well to throw them off. Because there is a lot of that going on right now. It seems like every game there's someone's pulling out something weird or trying to throw their opponents somewhere, one way or the other.
I think especially when you're looking at XL, you see Hyanan and he's playing wherever, isn't
all over the place. Yeah, they're prioritizing champ pools over their roles, and it works.
How do you prepare then when you're going to go up against XL?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, we try and make ourselves aware of everything that they could do, and try and figure out the best way to force them to not be able to do it. Because there are certain things that you could do in draft. Like, I'm not going to go into too much detail about specifically, you know, I mean, because obviously I wouldn't want to. But you know, there are certain things that you can do to be like, you know, to make sure that they are going to take a certain pick. You know, like for instance, like the Yasuo Gragas is a big flex right now. It had been Fnatic and XL, and whether that's going mid or bot lane is a really important factor. And then, you know, and there are things that you can do in draft to try and at least put a 60, 70, 80% chance that it's going to be going into one of those areas, or you can make it so that you don't care where it goes. As long as you're aware that it's happening, you don't get blindsided by the whole thing, is fine then. Yeah.
Do you think then there could be any kind of psychological barrier as well when you're going up against those sort of teams? You even hear it from some sort of like LEC, LCS players saying that when they go to Worlds, they're against LCK's sort of top players, that they maybe do give them a bit too much respect, not necessarily even meaning to, but you know, just when you're up against them names, it can be easy to maybe hold back a bit even if you don't necessarily mean to do it?
I'd like to say we don't, or because you don't intentionally do it. But I think that yes, to a certain degree, like it does happen. But I think the thing with us is like we're quite experienced, and I don't think any of us we're understandable and respectful of the fact that they're very good players. But I don't think anyone's like overwhelmingly crushed by that idea, you know, because at the end of the day, like we all know how League of Legends works. We know how the game works, and the bottom of the line is if they make a mistake and we get a lead, you know what I mean? Like if we have Irelia that goes 5-0, we're gonna beat them. We don't care if you're Excel or Envision, we're gonna beat you if we have a Fed Irelia. It's, you know, these things don't. It doesn't matter who you are. So you kind of just have to stick to playing your own game at that point. But yeah, I would probably say you do end up playing slightly differently when you're aware that your opponent is, you know, better than you or considered to be. You know that they're less likely to make these mistakes or that they're a much more well drilled team. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's like no one's like, you know, sweating in champ select like, you know, like all over the place or anything. But
Who have you found then have been the toughest bot lane to go up against so far?
I mean, it's kind of it's a difficult question that, because realistically it depends what you only play so many times against everyone, and it's also about the matchups that you're given. You know, so like most of the times that we're against XL bot lane, they've picked very like high priority bot lanes, and it's like it's kind of just written. It's scripture what happens sometimes. You know what I mean? In draft, if you get a certain matchup, that's how it's played out, and they just play it appropriately. They play it how they're supposed to play it, and it's not necessarily that they make it harder than anybody else would. Obviously, they play it, but they play it, you know, closer to perfection than anybody else does. I would say definitely, which obviously by default does then make it more difficult to play against. But it's not really like, you know, like certain, you know, metas where people would be playing like Draven, Alistair, Thresh, these kind of really aggressive champions where you'd be like going at each other a lot harder and you'd start to pick at each other's mechanics a lot closer. I think that was when you would kind of see the more mechanical skill. But right now, I'm just kind of aware of the fact that they just know how to play what their matchup is. They're a lot better than other people do, you know. Like our match against Barrage, where they played their Sona, Tom Kench, I think it was, and they didn't. The Sona gameplay just wasn't right. Like it wasn't correct. It's just simply put, and it was obvious to us. So that's like and it wasn't like. It wasn't necessarily that they were like playing awfully. It's just they just weren't playing how they were supposed to be playing, and it kind of feels like that's what it is right now. Most of the times when I'm going up against bot lanes, I'm not like, oh, they're, you know, like, oh, this guy's really good at Draven, or he's so sick at look at those mechanics. It's just kind of like, I'm like, okay, they know what this is, they know how this goes. You play it out, like that's it.
So do you think that there's kind of like an identity issue with some of the sides? Do you think they kind of don't know, even at this stage, like what they want to play and how to execute it?
Yeah, totally. I think people. Yeah, I think there's a big understanding about how the game's supposed to be played right now with some teams. It's like they're just, sometimes it feels like they're just too scrappy, looking for the wrong things all the time. You know, like these games, you can see they're constantly dragging. And I mean, we make these mistakes too. Everybody does. But you'll find games, you know, this team will have a lead, and you'll be watching. It's like the sort of thing where you'd be like, you know, you're on Discord with someone, and then the game looks won, and they leave because they're like, oh, it's whatever, and they come back 10 minutes later, and they're like, oh my god, is this still going on? And they're like, what happened? And I'm like, well, yeah, because, you know, they were just running into like topside with no vision. They didn't know what they were doing. They're like trying to play around Baron, you know, and they don't have the patience to wait for like their bot lane to kind of get shoved in or something first, and then like sort of basic steps that are being missed out. I do think it's like a common theme, at least with the majority of the lower teams. I think XL also do that with Baron sometimes, but they used to do it a lot worse. Now they're being a bit more controlled with it.
Where would you say then that you guys would stack up if you were to rank bot lanes in the UKLC this split? So where would Yuso and Shogun be? Which X place would you put yourselves?
Well, I'm going to ignore the Fnatic change today because I don't really want to comment on that so much about what Fnatic bot lane is now. Because I haven't. I mean, obviously, I'm like, you know, Xmat is still very good, but I have no idea about Ronaldo, whether he's going to be able to play support or not, or how much time he's put into it. So I don't really like to comment on whether I think there'll be a good bot lane or not. I expect there'll still be a very good bot lane, regardless. And I would say that the Fnatic and the XL bot lanes were or should continue to be one of the better ones. And then I think Phelan bot lane is a strong bot lane. I'm not sure whether I would say that I think we're better than them, because we haven't played against them at all. I haven't played Achi Wisdom as a bot lane once, and we've avoided them for this whole split until now next week where we're going to play them. And I do think they're the strongest side of Phelan. But I would probably still put us as third. Behind that, I don't think any of the other bot lanes should contend too much. I like maybe Demise bot lane. They're okay, like individually as players, but then I don't think they can, because it's not just about the 2v2. You have to consider, like, I'm like, yeah, okay, you might know how to lane really well, but then once your laning's done, like, how's your vision game? How's your, how do you play in team fights? What's your shot calling like? What's your, macro, your team management? All these things that come into consideration about what makes a player good that you can't see from laning against someone. So I kind of just have to go off of how well they do, I suppose. And I don't think any bot lane looks like they're being held back by their team massively. So
I think right now I would probably put you second, especially with what's happened with the Prosper thing, which you mentioned to me off, before we were chatting before.
Yeah.
Because I think you would think really by looking at you guys that you and Yusa played last split. And a lot of other kind of bot lanes I thought who had been together have not really stepped up, where I feel like you guys have stepped up.
We played against each other last split. We didn't play on the same team.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I mean. Sorry, you would think that you would have played together.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry. I thought you were saying, well, I was like, oh, no, we did.
No, that's what I mean. Okay. So that's what I mean. I look at you two, and you still had a carry player in Monk last split, but it was a different style of player.
Totally,
I think, really. And the fact that I think that you two have kind of worked what I would say arguably better than what you and Monk did. And that's no disrespect for Monk. I just think when you get two people who I feel like are on the same page more, I think it just works better. And totally. I feel like that's what's happened with you two.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think that, like, a lot of you can get to, like you're saying, because it's not about, that's not a comment about Monk's ability. He's obviously a very good player. But you when you're talking about bot lanes, it is two people, and you could get you can get two top tier players, put them in bot lane together, and they make a B tier bot lane, because the way of playing just doesn't match each other, and it looks like one of them's making mistakes all the time, and then because the other one doesn't know, what's going on or what they're thinking or how their play style is. It's important that you understand each other's play style as a bot lane, or just have the same play style is even better. Yeah. Got cat hair all over me now.
Okay, so moving on to predictions for the coming games this week. Game 1, Diabolus against Barrage. I presume you both be in agreement with me that that's a Diabolus win?
Yeah.
I don't know. My head tells me to go for Diabolus because, like, you look at form, look at everything, but there's still something about that Barrage side, despite it being Tower 6, where I'm like, could they still get playoffs? Like, I really genuinely think that they could just do an amazing run, and you never know what might happen. But
yeah,
I've liked Diabolus. I think Diabolus have overestimated a lot of people's expectations. So I really rated them so far. But yeah, if you had to put me on straight to a guess, I would actually go for Barrage, because I'd like to think eventually they get things sorted. But
yeah, I would think at this point, because Barrage still can make playoffs, especially with the bracket they've been given this week, because I think they're on the side without us or Fnatic, aren't they? I really feel like I feel like, especially because mentality is a big, like, contributing factor to these sorts of things. I feel like they'd look at that and they're like, okay, you know what, miracle run, we're still in, we can still do it. And who are they? Are they running Fax and Reclamation, or?
I believe
Fast
so. I believe they're doing Fax and Reclamation.
Okay, I thought I saw Rec tweet something about, like, that he couldn't play this week, or maybe that, or whatever it was.
Or they might be doing Fax and Fastly. I think Fax is definitely starting. So
well, and I think Fax is very good, and I feel like he's had a couple more weeks now to keep scrimming and keep getting back into it. I think he played fine in his first week anyway, because I know that they got a lot of flack for that bot lane swap. I don't think it was necessarily the best decision, or like it wasn't done perfectly, but I don't think it's why they lost that game that week.
No.
It's just people naturally do that. You know what I mean? Like something changes, they're still losing. They're like, haha, nice try, but I think it's unfair to put that on to like Fax, for instance, and say like that he was a problem, because I don't think he was.
It was like still a team issue, wasn't it?
Exactly, it's still a team issue.
Still a whole team issue. It wasn't those two.
Yeah, and I think that with a few more, he's now going to have had a few more weeks of scrims under his belt. If he's got back into full form, I really don't see why they can't beat Diabolus, especially when Diabolus. I mean, they're coming off a week where they lost to Envision, right? And I do see Envision as the last place team still. I think they've done a good job. I think they've played well, but it's just somebody has to be there, and and I do think that's going to be where they're going to end up. So when you're dropping games to them, it's not necessarily because you can lose a best of one to anyone. It doesn't mean that they're ultimately a better team than you. It just you had fundamental flaws that they picked at, and both Barrage and Diabolus have literally just come off of losing to Envision, right? Because Barrage lost the week before, then Diabolus lost to them, and now it's their turn. Now they're playing against each other. So, I mean, I really don't know, but I would expect to see like a sort of resurgence from Barrage at this point.
I think you do have to say though the excuses have gone really for Barrage, because obviously there was the excuse. Obviously they've only had the tough teeth, but then they lost the feeling and Envision.
There was no excuse about it. Like at this point, it doesn't matter, because you could have still picked up 4 or 5 points by this point. Like you haven't been, you know what I mean, faced with a top tier team every single week.
Whereas I believe with your side, despite you being third, I think you've only lost to academy sides, isn't it so far?
Yeah, we've only. I mean, like it's easy to moan about it all, and I know what but it's like, we could complain about it too. We haven't had the worst draw. I think Enclave have probably had the worst of it.
Yeah, Enclave have had it rough for quite a few times.
I think they've had like the academy teams first the most times, and then had the academy teams waiting for them second, if not. Like this week they're against Fnatic, and then even if they beat Fnatic, we'll probably. I mean, us or Phelan, obviously we have to beat Phelan, but presuming that we would win, then they'd still have to beat us. Then they'd have to beat XL. It's like, so their entire week would be playing the top 3 teams. It's like, I mean, okay, I'm like, when I see that, I do kind of think to myself, like, all right, I feel a little bit bad for you, maybe. Like, I can understand when you're at this point where you're trying to hold on to your points to stay in playoffs, why that would feel bad, but.
Whereas you probably look at Barrage and
you could easily be in a position now where you have they would easily be in a position right now where they'd have the points to be in playoffs, and realistically, as long as you're in playoffs by the end of this, it's fine. You're fine, because that's when you go to best of 3 and you get to play each team in a best of 3 and really prove if you're better than them or not.
Look at last split, don't you? Diabolus were top by quite a far margin, I think, in the end, and then they lost it because Fnatic won on the Fnatic won in the playoffs, because they knew all they needed to do was get playoffs, because it's anybody's game when it's best of 3.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, Fnatic were the better team than Diabolus last split, and it shows itself in the end. That's how it comes up. That's the reality of it. The same way that like we lost to we didn't lose to XL. No, we beat XL in Forge of Champions. We didn't. There wasn't a. We ended up coming 4th, I guess, technically because of points. But yeah, we didn't play XL in UKLC. But yeah, it comes to light in the end. Really, like you will find out which teams are better than which teams. It's just about not being in that bottom 2 point. Right? Yeah. But so for me again, like I'm saying, for Barrage, this is the time. Like there is literally no. This is it. This is the last stop.
They need because you never know. They could get an academy side next week.
Next week, exactly.
And that's it. And that's relegation, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah. But if they get their 2 points this week, that'll put them joint at least 6th or 5th or something. I'm sure.
Put them in a clump.
Literally, and then then from there the draw comes again. But fingers crossed, I suppose, for them.
Because it's a good organisation. It's an organisation which I don't want to see
Barrage.
Be in. No. It was a bit like Bulldogs was another one. Like, it's an organisation I didn't really want to see down there, because I like the organisation as an whole. And I thought that Bulldogs especially were one of the teams which I didn't expect to get relegated when thinking about it. But obviously that happened, and then they lost Forge of Champions. So it's like can't really do anything when you lose to that. So
it happens. They're good orgs, you know. Sometimes you know they're good orgs. They're nice people. They work hard, but they miss a beat on certain things. You know, they don't necessarily know what needed to go into the team or what they need to do now to get themselves out of that hole. But we'll see
I think
if they do.
With Barrage, though, final point, it'll be interesting to see how much an influence Ferndog has on Barrage. Like, I don't know how much.
Well, I mean, it's been 6 weeks now, right? So
yeah. So you would think you would know, but in terms of like how hands on is he? Because he's not the head coach. Torrek's the head coach. It's kind of like,
no idea.
Is it just an advisory role, or is he kind of it's one of those?
Yeah, but like, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to comment because I don't know.
Yeah.
But purely from speculation, I would say that, you know, I don't think he's with another team. I don't think he's doing anything else. I mean, he might have his own personal.
I feel like
I'm sure he has his own personal life and he's doing his things, but I'm sure he's there. His voice is there, and it will be heard and respected. So, I don't feel like it's going to be like this week. They're going to be like, oh, actually, we'll bother Ferndog finally with it. I feel like he will have been a present and around.
100%.
Yeah, because he has been sort of tweeting and things after each game, each time they lost, saying that they've been working on stuff and they're going to be coming back. So he's clearly doing something.
Yeah. No, I think he is. That's not to say that he's the reason why they're losing. Again, it's like it's hard to pinpoint.
No. Yeah, it's a weird situation because you probably look at all these players, especially you probably look at Monkeys like more than anything, and you think this is a top player. This is a player who did he win Jungler of the Split? I believe he might.
Yeah.
I believe I voted on it. So
he was almost MVP of the Split, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah. So it was, but he was obviously very highly rated. It's a big team which they've brought together. Something's just not clicked, and you know, like where I said with you and Monk and you and you, so there's that difference. I wonder if it's just something where synergy wise they just don't click together, and hopefully they can stay in the league and maybe they will be doing. They'll probably reshuffle a few things coming over to next spring split, but we'll just see what happens. Really.
Yeah, I imagine Monkus will be fine off the back of this. I don't think his career will get hit too hard.
No, 100 not. No.
Because I find it unlikely that anybody's looking at this Barrage situation and blaming him for it. But I think you're right.
I don't even think you blame most of the players though, as well, because like you look at those players and you think there's just something not right there.
Yeah. I mean, like there's obviously some fundamental. Like you can watch it and you can critique their gameplay. But you just never know. From a critical standpoint, it is always, you have to remember that you don't know what goes into their scrims. You have no idea what work their management does. They could all be doing an amazing job, and it's just not clicking. But like you said, it's just because sometimes people's play styles don't sync up. You know, you can end up having like a very sort of analytical, methodical jungler with these hyper aggressive solo laners that want to fight all the time, and the jungler will be like, no, you know, I prefer to play like this, and they can't sync up their game styles, and then it ends up looking so discoordinated and dysfunctional, and it's really just because they don't belong together on a team. It's just the way it is, and it could just be that. It could be because they're not trying in scrims. It could be because none of them care. You know, you never know. It's a mystery, but we can only speculate from over here. You know.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think I'm going Barrage. It's short answer.
Yeah, I will put my money on Barrage this week because I'd like to believe. I do like the Diablos roster. I think they're a good roster. I like the fact that they've got some fresh talent in there.
I think PFI stepped up one player more. I think PFI stepped up, especially.
I mean, he's had a fantastic couple splits. PFI. He's really and he's been, you know, it depends because he was quite I wouldn't say he was unknown before. Not Demise, Darkspawn. I want to say Demise because they seem like in my head. I remember like it's the devil logos, all these teams. I know, you know, but when he was on Darkspawn and stuff was like before that he'd been around, and I think he worked hard actually to get on that team, and then to get onto Diablos now. So, and he is doing well, and I think he's one of those players that you might have thought that you'd be like, oh, should he really be there? And then you kind of haven't noticed that you aren't thinking that anymore.
I was 100%. I was like,
you forget it.
He's one of like the third best player maybe on Darkspawn, and that was the team which got relegated. I thought,
and you're like, why is he there? And then you're like, actually, he's doing fine. He's not holding anyone back. He's doing well. He seems to know what he's doing. He's improving. So he's playing. He's focusing. He's improving. But yeah,
exactly. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, literally. But no, I think they're a good roster. But I do think that if Barrage, I like to always believe that everyone's coming with their A game. So if they are coming with their A game, I would have thought that Barrage would take a win at this point.
Yeah.
I don't want
Right.
to see them go a whole split without a win.
Oh no, don't even
Yeah.
think of that.
No.
This is when they lose and then they get like either XL Fnatic and
And
everybody's
next
just gonna
week
like
it's gonna
cry.
be, oh. Yeah, straight to the top. Can you imagine? That would be an underdog story. That really would be.
They just needed that one. Yeah, they
Yeah.
come up with 5 points, getting playoffs. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
So what are you
Oh,
guys thinking of the new player format? Personally, I'm not a huge fan. I think it kind of defeats the point if 7 out of 9 teams are getting in. So yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I didn't quite get it, but to be honest, I'm kind of glad because my issue is more. I think most people's issue is more with the initial point scoring system.
yeah.
So having the seven, the gauntlet for 7 teams kind of makes me like. It's like I said earlier. I was like, well, at the end of the day, as long as you get to that point, you're fine, and you can prove that you're a better team. So, in a way, for me, it's actually a saving grace here. Because like for instance, Barrage, like you're saying, if they should be a 4th, 5th place team at this point, they're last. The gauntlet, as long as they do well in the next couple of weeks, will be their saving grace to getting to that point. So it's kind of like a necessary evil at this point, probably.
I think it's a bit like I'm going to put a little bit of team fight tactics in here. There's too much RNG in I think the format which it is right now. So having the gauntlets is kind of like having that 4th place victory. So it doesn't matter. Unlucky situations can happen. So you still get the chance to get into playoffs more, and the more chance you get that, the more of a kind of a traditional format, which is the gauntlet you get in. So I personally don't really like I liked it, I think, the first split from a viewer's point, but I quite like the league system as a whole, then go into a gauntlet. But I understand why they don't want to do it, because it's big matches. You get quite good matches. I understand that, and that's a whole different topic in itself. But I think the gauntlet is a good idea for the format which they have right now, because it, like Shogun said, it gives more teams the chance to kind of show that they're not actually as bad as what is seen, to be fair.
Okay then, moving on. Next game then, game 2 of the day.
Game 2.
Only on 2.
We've got Demise against Envision. I'm going for Demise.
Ooh, spicy.
Oh, I like this one. I do. This is going to be a good one. I'm going to go. I think it's Demise. I think it is.
Yeah, I think this one's a bit more straightforward for me. Like I say, obviously Envision have done well where they beat Diabolus and stuff, but I think I think the reason why Demise has done so well is because they just have a lot of like raw talent.
Yes.
Like they're like a team that if you could put them in a time chamber, time chamber year forward, they'd be a top team. But they just maybe swap in 1 or 2 players. I'm not sure. I won't comment. But they're like, I think that's what they are, and I think Envision. I don't think they lack that, but I just think they're just like the lesser version of that, perhaps, compared to Demise. So I feel like they should just get out muscled. Like that's what it's going to be. They're just going to get, because they're both very new teams, and they don't have, maybe I don't want to say they don't have a good understanding of the game, because that's it's like a broad critique, and I need to back that up with something, and I don't really have anything to back it up with. But I would just say that they're fresh, they're new players, and I think that Demise's players are just a bit stronger, perhaps, on just on a base level.
I think when they came into Forge of Champions as EJBY Brotherhood, it was a very similar thing. These were players who we knew were very good skill wise, and through literally just being a team where they just randomly picked up just high level players or good players which they know were good, they managed to get promoted. And then obviously Demise took it. They did really well getting this roster. I think they made a few changes, Vigo I think being one of them. I can't remember what the other one was. And I think Den Voxnay has done great as well. I think he's really showed up this tournament, and I think that's what differs Envision and Demise for me. Is I feel like there's more stars in Demise, where Envision look like a team, and they are playing well as a team, but there's no one I'd really say, okay, if I would want that player in another one of my teams in the UKLC, where I look at that Demise lineup and I could see 2 or 3 where I'd be like, okay, I could put them in Enclave or Phelan or anywhere else, So, and I think that's because I was trying to think of why Demise just looks so much better because, and I do think it is because of that. Because Envision have, to their credit, like you said, beaten some pretty good sides, especially who they would consider above their level.
Yeah, totally. I think that's pretty accurate.
But I think Demise are going to stomp Envision. I really do.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Envision have seemed to approach the game. Like, I like the way they've approached a few of their matches, though. They really have shown up with a game plan. I feel like they know what they want to do. So I wouldn't put it past them to actually have something here. But I would still probably say Demise.
Yeah. And they had a bit of an issue, Demise, with Baku, who I believe was going to be the original jungler, but then he's stayed in Korea.
They've had issues as well. They've
was it Lena before?
Lena plays LoL or something. Or,
yeah,
I don't know. Lena was the top, and Baku. Siki?
Baku.
I can't remember. He changed his name, but I can't remember what he changed.
Now it's Hideon,
which way it was. Hidon? Yeah, is the new.
Hidon.
I know the names. I just don't know how to pronounce them. This is always a problem when it comes to I never know. I've never spoken to these people. You don't know Hidon. Every time I see his name, I just hear Hidon Brush every time. Every time I see his name, that's all I can think of. It's Faker in the jungle, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I saw on Twitter today, Leaguepedia are letting people send voice messages of their pronunciations.
Yeah. You just gotta know when you choose your name, don't you? Like, use something like mine, just a generic thing, Shogun, innit? Like, come on, everyone knows how to say that. Like,
yeah, everybody can say Den Voxney. Like,
true. It's just spelt how it sounds, isn't it? So, if that even is, if we even know, he could be one of those players where you find out he'll actually be like, oh well, if you say it in like his accent or something, then it would be something totally different. But
it's Dawn Voxner or
something like that, yeah.
I think it's going to be a big match for Envision as well, seeing as they're currently on 2 points, matched with Phelan and Enclave. So all of those teams will be looking to kind of get the win or two to break them out of that little clump. If you look at the rest of the matches, Phelan have got MnM and Enclave have got Fnatic, so it's a really good chance for Envision to get a bit of daylight and try and pull away from that little group.
It's good for Barrage as well, that, isn't it?
I feel bad for Enclave. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I think next week they should be fine because I think they'll have played XL and Fnatic twice now.
Yeah, so they should.
There's no way they
get like an Envision or a Phelan and maybe someone where it gives them a chance to kind of say, okay, here's your opportunity to not get relegated, because it does feel like it could be Enclave in the firing line.
If we assume that Fnatic don't win the tower, then they're definitely safe. Unless they beat them as well, you know.
I mean, it could happen.
I genuinely, I don't even mind if it's not us. I just hope somebody beats an academy team this race. It doesn't even have to be us. Just anybody will do.
So I remember in the first week, and it was an academy final in spring, and so I was kind of like, oh, it's going to be like this every week, and this is in spring. But then it happened again in summer. I was like, oh, but that happened first week anyway, so eventually it'll be fine, and we'll see other teams started popping up, and I'm like, no, we're not. We're really not.
Unfortunately.
But that playoffs, they're all waiting for playoffs. That's it. All everybody else, you guys just wait.
Yeah, we're just saving up. That's why. We're like, why should we? Why should we win now? Come on, be serious. Like, if I'm going to win, if I can only beat an academy team a couple of times, I'm going to save it for playoffs. Obviously,
exactly.
Like,
you don't want the play-in for EMAS. You just want to get straight up, don't you?
Straight into
groups.
Do that by playoffs, save my time. I've got a holiday booked that weekend anyway, so that's why.
Okay, so next up we've got MnM against Phelan. Obviously Phelan, right?
Yeah, I'd say straight up. I don't think we even need to discuss that one, quite frankly.
So I had some bad words, I believe, to say about Phelan when we were previewing him, and I have to say I was a little bit wrong, and maybe a little bit harsh, but I still think they are probably one of the weaker sides, along with Envision. I had Phelan below Demise, because I actually thought Demise, because of how good they were at Forge Champions, that they might be good, but I think it's going to be a little bit of an issue for Phelan, and it's not just because Shogun's here, but I generally do think that MnM are going to win this, because there's nothing I don't find anything special with Phelan, and I don't know if that's just because I'm not paying as much attention to them, but again, there's no player like Envision where I'm like, wow, this is an unbelievable player, and hopefully, maybe not in this game, but hopefully someone proves me wrong and steps up, but
No, I know. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. They are like I mean, I really struggle. Like you were saying that they're like, you think maybe they're in the bottom, or I've really struggled this whole split. Even now, to when I look at Barrage, Enclave, Phelan, Diabolus, Demise, like to see any substantial difference where I'm like, I could guarantee in a best of 5 that team would come out on top.
Yeah, it would always be like a 3-2 or maybe a 3-1.
Like I really like, and I genuinely don't think anyone would 3-0 anyone at this point. I think even for us, like I think we would obviously, if we were ignoring academy teams, we would have the best chance of 3-0ing most teams. But even then, I still believe that these teams, because like you said, like some of them will have certain players that are a threat that I would think they might be able to take a game. And it can happen. And I know what you mean about feeling, but I do still think they could. But they are lacking that kind of spark right now.
And it's no, I mean, Phelan, I think, did very well in spring. I had Phelan, again, one of the lower sides, and they were, but they managed to stay up. And I do feel like they've kind of stayed the same, despite being new players. It feels a bit same old. They're kind of in this relegation battle. Yeah. Other teams seem to have boosted. Like I think, like you guys, I thought obviously Barrage, and XL had obviously stuck with this brilliant lineup. Let's be honest. I felt like a lot of teams had kind of gone up, and then there were a couple which had kind of stayed the same. I thought Enclave and Phelan were one of those. And then a 2 which I thought had dropped, Diabolus, even though they have dropped, it's not as much as what I thought. And then you had the 2 new promoted sides as well. So it's, I just felt like they needed to be better than I think last split, and I think that is going to cost them. But however, Enclave, again, are one of those sides which could join them. It all depends on what happens this week. It's a big week. It's a huge week.
Yeah, no, it's quite important. I think each game is going to be, it's going to be important to someone, even to someone that's not in that match.
Yes, 100%.
Like us beating Phelan will mean a lot to Barrage, stuff like that. So maybe I'll have a little chat with Jeff, see see what's going on.
So what's in it for me? We're fine. We're fine.
See if I can't get me a little keychain with a boat on it or something,
Okay then, so moving on to last game, we've got XL against Fnatic. I'd imagine everyone would go for Fnatic for this one.
Yeah.
I think this is Enclave's best chance, though, like, with what's happened.
Well, yeah, with the roster changes, I guess.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, yeah. I thought you meant it was their best chance to win a game or something. I'm not sure about that.
No, beating the academy sides, I think this is the weakest because of how new and how everything's changed.
New, least amount of time scrimming. Like, this is going to be the weakest this Fnatic roster is going to be. So, assuming that they haven't already had lots of practice, we don't know. I mean, they released the roster update like an hour ago, but you don't know how long they've known about it, how long they've had these people contracted for.
And what is the full roster again?
So Shikari's left, and they put Bando into the top lane. NG's still in. Magic Felix is still in.
Yeah.
Xmati's in, and Ronaldo is being moved into the support position.
So I can't imagine Ronaldo getting a lot of time scrimming support. Like, last week he wasn't that, and Bando. I mean, we were talking before, and we didn't really know much about him, but he seems to be like quite a good, decent National League player from what we've seen. I think NG's been really good, but I think this could be a weak Fnatic side. But I wonder if this is a Fnatic side which I thought, right, maybe we can't beat XL with what I'm talking like after regular split into playoffs. Maybe they're thinking, okay, we couldn't beat them XL really with what we've got now, so let's change things up and see if we can dominate with this lineup. But I'm a bit unsure with why.
But they could beat them. They did beat them. I mean, they were just flipping. They were flipping weeks, weren't they? It was just Fnatic XL. The reasons, no idea. I think you're right. I mean, I don't think Ronaldo. I think there will be some intricacies to the support role that he may not know, but presumably they're going to be able to teach him that pretty fast. You would hope they have the resources to do that. like give him a quick hour-long chat with Hillisang or something, and it'll be fine. It's not.
Well, for you, what do you
know.
think would be like the main thing? Like, obviously, I don't know how much jungle you've played, but in terms of like going into like support, what do you think's like there's some certain things which people don't really realize, especially when you're playing it in this like national league level?
I mean, a lot of it's going to depend on the team a lot. So it's because it's more because the one thing is about your role is that you're really never going to experience someone else playing it. So you kind of just design it around your experience of what you do, and you think that's what the role is. So like for myself, like I always put a lot of, like, you know, for me, the support role is very much a support role in game as well. Your team relies on you a lot in terms of information, like vision, like these sort of, but you also get like these supports that are kind of more playmaking, and they're very like shot cally, take the lead. They're like making the engage, doing flashy plays and stuff like that. It can come in various different ways, but it's more about, I'm looking at what Fnatic is used to having in Crossfire, and then are you going to want to overhaul the entire team structure to make them used to a new play style, or are they going to just try and fit him into what Crossfire does already? And then is he going to be able to just you know put Crossfire shoes on and walk the walk kind of thing?
And then you couldn't put him on Gragas. It's the main
well,
thing.
exactly. You know, your champ pool changes. Because he's not going to be able to play everything that Crossfire plays, I'm sure. You know, they've had loads of Shen Pike reliancy at the minute, and it's like, you know, Crossfire likes to play Shen Pike a lot, and Shen Pike have a very specific game style, like your whole team, and it's team style. You know, when you're playing Pike and you're playing Shen, it's not just a laning thing. This is a team thing. Pike is a very map dominant champion. Shen is a map dominant champion. You're all over the place. You know, so is Ronaldo going to be able to fill into that kind of play style, or are they just going to change it? I would assume they probably just change it. It's better to change it than to force something that doesn't work, unless he can do it. I don't know.
Yeah, they clearly have a plan. Like, we're not saying that obviously Fnatic are coming into just saying why not. They're clearly looking at this.
Second place, whatever. Whatever. No.
We'll just bring him back for playoffs. It's fine. But no, it is an incredibly weird one. But I still think that it is going to be Fnatic as much. I think if they were playing like a side like for the game, I think if they were playing like maybe I would say like a Demise or like a you guys, which I believe you're on the same bracket, aren't you?
Yeah, maybe we'll find out.
Yeah,
you know, we'll catch them
or maybe
Thursday.
even a Barrage. Maybe there's like a chance where I could see them maybe getting the victory on them, but. I just don't think Enclave have got even enough for what I would class as a weakened Fnatic side. But...
No, I think again it's I mean, they're solo laners. I think Enclave have done really well. Like I think Beely's done great, but I think
Beely's been
Felix,
again another.
He's done very well, but I do think Magi Felix is a bit of a steep climb. You know, at the end of the day, outperforming him is going to be difficult, and presumably Bando as well. But I don't know a lot about Bando, so. That's difficult to comment on. I would pretty much just a pretty safe bet on Fnatic winning still. Yeah.
And if Fnatic do win, I guess you guys probably fancy yourselves with their changes.
Who, me? Yeah, I mean, I would love it. I mean, I Fnatic. I hope we get to play Fnatic. I would really like to see. I'm very curious about how these roster changes are going to. I do hope they beat Enclave, and I hope we beat Phelan, and I would like to play them.
So you would prefer Fnatic over Enclave, even if Enclave do beat them, like just hypothetically?
Yeah, I would now. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we're safe, you know. We're definitely in playoffs, so it's. It's not even for anything strategic. I just want to play them.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
You get better than the best if you just play them, isn't it?
I want exactly. I just want to see. I want to play them. I want to see how their roster change is going to be. It's interesting, and the best way to do it is to play them myself than to watch someone else play them. So,
I mean, to put it into LEC terms, I believe that it was Yankos who says that he loves playing Fnatic because Fnatic actually go at them. They give him a challenge. They give him everything which they need. So. Why wouldn't he love to play against one of the strongest sides in the league?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they want to be better than that. So
it always makes for an interesting game, or at least you learn something at the end of the day. And when you're in a position like we're in, where we're pretty safe right now, it's just better for us to be learning more, making them show more of their cards, reveal more of what they're going to do.
And I think I know the secret of how MnM can win the UKLC.
Oh, yeah? Please tell me.
Well, Shikari, he's won 4 splits in a row, free agent.
That's Sorry, Angel.
Yeah.
See you later. Don't tell him the
Angel's not
prosperous as
listening
well.
to this,
I don't need to know about that. He's also won splits. Yeah, one less than Shikari though, I think. So
That's what we're gonna see, barrage, isn't it? Like
yeah,
with
Barrage
Shikari.
Shikari, Barrage Frostwear.
Oh no!
You heard it here first. I mean, you never know. I've heard crazier things. Although I believe the rosters may be like locked now, aren't they? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
After.
But again, because
today
when
or
did
something,
Targamas come in? Was that?
Well, that was last split. That was a while
Yeah.
ago.
When did it
That
come in
was-
last splits?
It was in between. Yeah, right before playoffs. Yeah, it was in the break
so
between
they could.
playoffs.
I don't know. It depends if a side really want to change so much. But I guess if they want to play, why not? You know, with other
Yeah, exactly.
teams.
I mean, that's the thing is you've also got to consider personal issues and what players want,
Mhm.
what their own career path is, their own development.
So they might decide just to take a split off, or maybe try and find
totally.
somewhere else. You know,
Sometimes that's the
like
best thing.
Shikari and Prosper are definitely players who can go into any UKLC, well, most UKLC sides anyway, and possibly some other National League sides. So
yeah, I would. I mean, at this point, any UK team would take them easily, without a doubt. And unless they've got some kind of like personal issues, you know, you never know.
Yeah.
But, and then with other national leagues, I don't think they'd struggle to get onto at least semi-decent, if not one of the better teams in those leagues as well.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They'll be fine, I'm sure, if that's what they want.
Who's going to win the tower?
Presumably XL, I would say. Yeah, I would think XL will just keep it this week. Are they? They are. Yeah, XL. Yeah, of course they're at the top. If Fnatic are playing Enclave. Yeah, I think XL may just stay there this week.
I mean, I really thought there was going to be some optimism and say, you know, MnM, this is MnM's time.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, you never like to vote for yourself, do you? I mean, you know, you'll make it more interesting when we do, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say XL as well, though. To be fair, I think they are, especially with the changes to Fnatic. I think just XL are the better side, just in general.
Yeah,
it's an unbelievable team. You've got, like you said, world semi-finalist Yarnan and Kissing and Special. That's just some ridiculous players who, let's be honest, probably after this split might not be there. So it would be interesting to see what happens. But it all depends on what they want to do.
Depends on their contractors as well, I suppose.
Oh yeah, and the contracts, yeah.
You never know. Some people do take quite long ones. But yeah, I wouldn't think they'll be in UKLC forever. It's hard to say, but yeah.
And to be fair, Sendo and Taxo have probably stepped up since spring as well.
Yeah, you gotta give it to them. They have. I'll admit. I think I was. I can't lie and say I wasn't a part of that crowd that was critiquing them a fair bit. I think Sendo especially took a lot.
Yeah, I think Sendo and me
a bit, but Sendo took a lot of critique and he's done pretty well. So you kind of just have to hand it to him at that point. There's not much discussion about it.
I think with a jungler sometimes as well, especially when you're playing for, and I think it was the same thing which Dan had last split, where like you've kind of just got to do your job. And Taxo has done his job. Has he been like phenomenal? Has he been like probably a standout player? No, you wouldn't say so. But not every player can be that. And I think
you can't. And also, if you're winning, if you're winning, who cares, man? Like you're doing your job. You're showing up. You're winning your games. You're going home. Enjoy it. It's no problem. You don't need to be making highlight montages every day. It's fine.
No, exactly.
He's
and teams know that. Yeah. Like maybe like viewers don't look at it and you see what was the with the streams and stuff like that where you see like people just look on Reddit and highlight plays of stuff, but you could get maybe them, but like the teams notice the winning mentality and the team notice how you win a game, and that Taxa knows how to win a game, and I think he's definitely stepped up, like you said, from last split. Definitely. There we go.
Okay, then just one more question before we finish up for Shogun. What was Chiv's reaction at that Pinnacle steal?
You can hear it. Have you not seen it? You can watch it. MnM, they just posted something. What's it? Hear the Flame every week. Yeah. The mic check thing. It's on. You can watch it.
Oh.
He was not happy.
That's a little plug.
You can just hear it. Yeah, well, there is. I mean, it's true. Though. If you do want to listen to it, you can actually go and listen to it. It's there. He took it all right. It's been a bit of a running joke now. I feel like we're gonna be bringing this up until the very end. But, bless him. It would have been the first penta as well in the UKLC, I think.
Oh,
At least this
took
split
it away
anyway.
from rookie of the split, Chips.
Literally,
Terrible.
I know. God, gotta feel bad for the guy. You really do. It's the dream, yeah. But
Just make it up by getting one against Fnatic. That's
well,
all
exactly.
you
That's
need.
what I said. I was like, we're just gonna have to do it again, or he can just steal one from someone else, and then fair's fair,
Mhm.
right? Like whatever.
Yeah, that's it. This is where. Have you seen that Soraka Redemption pentakill?
No.
This is. Have you not seen it on Reddit? So they're all. It's a solo queue game, and they're all around the Baron pit, and Redemption gets hit, and then Baron just wipes all out, and Soraka gets a pentakill. Just imagine Chibs being the one just to stop you getting that unbelievable pentakill.
No, Chibs would never do that to me. He'd do it to everyone else, not to me. He wouldn't. He's my boy.
Well, that pretty much wraps it up then.
Alright.
Thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Shogun. If anyone wants to find more of you, where can they find you?
Just Twitter, UK Shogun. Hit it up. Excellent content. Yeah, there you go. You follow that link.
And yeah, I write, create Gromp News. I post interviews for the UKLC and hopefully a few other leagues eventually in EU Masters. I've actually got one for USA coming up, which is I believe on Wednesday, and another one tomorrow as well, but I'm not too sure which one that will be. So keep peeled on that. It's at Gromp News on Twitter and Gromp News on, just type it on the internet. There's not many Gromp News out there, so
the internet, you've heard of it.
And if you want to catch any more of me, you can find me on Twitter at NTS_Lee Jones. Follow NineTeeSix at NineTeeSix. You can also find us at 96.net. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, please do follow. Okay, that's it. Thanks for listening.